Well, I don't know if that's safe, but there's a spot up here on the couch if you want to be extra comfy, or there's still chairs in the back. So feel free to come in and sit down, and we'll be getting started shortly. I would just like to say that this is such a neat time to be alive in our country's history. And I know that some of you may not feel that way because so many people around you are. What do they say about the economy? What are most things that you hear about the economy nowadays? That it's down, right? It's bad, whatever. But you know what? I choose not to participate in that. I choose to do something different, and you can too. And that is what tonight is all about. That there are different options and that you don't have to stay stuck just because everybody else is. And I love this company passionately. It has done something absolutely amazing for me and my family. Several years ago, my family and we got a gift, but we didn't realize it was a gift. Have you ever gotten one of those gag gifts that's like dressed up beautifully? It's a big box and everything, and you're thinking you're going to get this awesome present, right? And then inside there's something. Have you ever gotten one of those gifts that you're like thinking it's going to be great? And then inside you're like opening it all excited, and there's nothing, or there's something obnoxious, or something that you really would rather not have, right? And you're going to have it displayed in your living room for the year until you can get rid of it to the next family member, or however that works, right? Have you ever had that experience? Yeah? Well, several years ago, my family and we got a gift. Except for this gift was kind of that gag gift in a reverse. Because it wasn't all pretty on the outside. It didn't look all beautiful on the outside. It looked like a dirty lump of black coal or something really bitter and not fun. And I did not know that there was an actual gift inside of that. And what had happened in my family's life is that we chose to partner with a couple that we should have vetted them out more. We should have done more due diligence. Have you ever stepped into a situation kind of a little too quickly and then found out, maybe I should have checked it out a little more? Yeah. Well, it was kind of like that. And so we were all excited. We were partnering. We were entrepreneurs because my husband and I love that. And we were building up our business, and it was going fantastic. We were getting more employees. Sales were up. We were doing all this stuff. We were in a low voltage company where we were doing central vac and security alarms and all that kind of stuff. And we were doing it we were in a new subdivision, so we were doing it for our neighbors and our friends. We thought this was the coolest thing ever. And we did not know that behind our backs, our partners that we chose to be partners with were taking all the money. And they weren't only taking all the money, but they were putting us more and more and more in debt. And we had no idea. We had no idea because we weren't being as involved in that part of the business that we should have been. And so when it all came crashing down, little did we know, we were doing security alarms. I mean, we didn't know that we needed a security alarm for our partners, right? We should have had that on the computer, right? But so, when it was all said and done, they took off, they left, and we were almost $250,000 in debt. And that was a gift that I didn't know was a present. Because I didn't know that the journey from there to here would be so beautiful. I had no idea that, just like one of my favorite quotes out of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, it talks about when your soul has been so crushed by adversity in this life that you get introduced to your new self. You get a chance to be somebody different. And if you show up and take back your life and do something different and create different and are so determined that not even the universe itself can say no to you in what you want, in your goals and your dreams and your desires, then you can do anything. And I truly believe that when you get in that space that you're determined to not put up with circumstances that you absolutely can't stand, when you're determined to open your eyes and create a new dream, something bigger than the 9-to-5 job that you hate. And not everybody hates their job, but if you do, you might want to look into something different that you love, that you're passionate about. And I believe when you're in that space, that opportunities come to you, that chances come to you that you can take advantage of and create something different in your life. And that is what happened to Gary and I. We had an opportunity through the vehicle of this company to turn that black, bitter piece of coal that was in my heart deep and turn that into a diamond and have that diamond light shine on so many beautiful things that were all around us that I had just not seen before. And the more that we were able to help and serve other people, it was like not only did that lump of coal in my heart change, but I was surrounded by diamonds. I was surrounded by diamonds like you. I was surrounded by beautiful, wonderful people that are striving every day to make this country, to make their family, to make something better, something different. Do you guys feel like America needs some new leaders? Yes? Do you feel like that you guys are the leaders? You guys are the people that need to rise up and show that there is something better than a down economy. And so I hope today, as you listen to the co-founder of this company and the CEO of this company, they are brilliant, amazing, amazing men that I have the utmost respect for. They have integrity, they have good characters, they have vision for where this company is going to go. They are powerful, and I have seen them fight through so many challenges and come out on top, and that is how they run this company. And I'm just going to turn the time over to Steve Miller, first of all, and I just want to tell you that this man means so much to me, and he probably doesn't know how much he means to me, but what he has done in helping create this company gave my family its life back. I had a daughter that was checking out, that was trying to check out of life over and over and over because of the financial situation that we were in and other things as well. But because of that, she had lost hope. A lot of people in this country have lost hope. And this company, in giving us back our economic freedom, it gave us back a lot of chances and a lot of choices that we could make differently in our family. And so when I look at this man, I look at somebody that helped save my family, my marriage, my life, and gave me purpose and passion to do something better than just sit around and mope about how life was. And so with that, I'll welcome Stephen Miller. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, thank you everyone for coming tonight. Appreciate. No, I'm just kidding. Wow, that was fantastic. Carolyn, I really appreciate everything that you're doing. What an amazing woman. Is everyone here tonight? Are you here? Raise your hand if you're here. Okay, you're here. That's good. We're starting in the right place. I feel overwhelmed with gratitude. Every time I get in front of a crowd like this, first of all and foremost, I want to thank Chris and Colleen. They're not here today, but they opened up their home to you, to allow you to hear something a little bit different, allow you to hear some options that you currently may not know that you even have. And so, can we just give them a round of applause for allowing us to be here tonight? About 8 years ago, Chris Crone gave me a call. And at the time in my life, to give you a little bit more background into where I come from and what I've experienced and why I'm doing what I'm doing, I was raised in a very, very poor family. Anyone willing to raise their hand if they were in a similar situation growing up? All right, okay, a few of us. Let me validate what that means for me, because I know it means something different for everybody. So poor for me meant that when there was a field trip that cost $4 or $5, we didn't go on it, because we couldn't afford the $4 or $5. Poor for me meant that, when we didn't have food, we went out and looked for it. And oftentimes that meant in the dumpsters. When we weren't doing that. We were either on welfare, both church and state. And so that was my childhood. And although I experienced a lot of financial hardship, I had two parents who loved me. And every day told me that I could do anything I wanted to do and be anything I wanted to be. And so that was significant for me. And I don't take that for granted because I know that everybody didn't experience the same thing that I did. So although I had this loving household, though, I had this struggle financially, and I watched my parents struggle over and over and over. And I watched my father go from job to job to job. And I even watched my father take over the family business, where my grandfather had made a lot of money, and just kind of take it down. And so that was my experience as a kid. And I don't know if you're like me, but I watched children. I have 6 of them, with one on the way. Will be born in about a week. You can applaud if you want to. It's not me, it's my wife. But I watch children, and what I've started to understand about children is they observe everything. They take it all in. They're like sponges. And they look at every situation, and they'll just soak it all up. The hard part about being a child is they don't interpret it very well. So although they're gathering all this information and they're seeing it all happen, they don't understand what's going on typically. At least that was my experience as a child. I watched my parents struggle and struggle and struggle, and it wasn't until probably a few years ago where I stopped judging. I started to realize that my parents weren't alone in their struggles, that so many other people face the exact same struggle. And the problem is we're taught a certain system that's broken. Can we agree on that? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Let's talk about this journey that we're all on, because the reality is I think that we're all kind of on the same journey a little bit. We have experiences that we have to go through. And we start off in life over here, and we're told to do what? We're told to go to school, okay? Why are we told to go to school and get an education? So we can get a job, okay? So we go to school, right? We graduate from high school, hopefully, get a diploma, go to college. By the time we're sophomores, we've changed our major 14 times. Is it going to be like this tonight, guys? Okay, we changed our major a little bit. And we go on through high school, and we graduate to what end? Yeah, to the end of you have a lot. You're in debt now, all right? You get a piece of paper. What does that piece of paper tell you? You're smart, right? Let me just tell you right now, you don't need a piece of paper to know that you're smart. I'll tell you, you're smart. You're here. You're part of that 2 or 3% of the population that actually will try to better their situation. So you're here for a reason. But we go to school, we get that piece of paper that tells us we're smart. And really, I think what that piece of paper does is it tells us that we can get a job, maybe not down here, but maybe we can give ourselves permission to earn a little bit more, right? To come in maybe mid-level a little bit, do something a little bit different. So we get the job and we work really hard. And then what do? What are we told to do? Save our money. Where do we put it? Okay, 401ks. Where else? Where do you put your money? Okay. Okay, food. Hey, again, 6 kids and one on the way, and they do like to eat. Other kids don't like to eat. It's interesting. We have friends over, and they won't eat anything. And my kids are shoveling it all down. They know how to eat, but. So we're going through this whole thing because we want to get a job that pays well because we've got bills, right? We've got obligations. We have things that we need to do. We have to put a roof over our heads. We need to wear clothing. Please buy clothing, everybody. Just kidding. Okay, so we're doing all these things and trying to just kind of keep up with what life throws at us. Let me ask you a question. What do you want at the end of it all? What's the goal? Okay? What does that look like for you? What do you want retirement to look like? Okay? Okay. I want you to do me a favor real quick. Raise your hand if you're here for the first time. All right. I want you guys to participate. I'm hearing all my other guys coming out. Tell me what you want for retirement. What do you want it to look like? Yeah.
It'd be nice to not worry about money.
Okay.
Retire and be able to go serve a mission with my husband.
Okay.
And I don't know how we're going to do that.
Okay.
If we don't have a retirement plan.
Did everyone hear what she said? She said, here, let me, where's the other microphone? Yeah, if I could. She said she wants the ability to retire. And can you hear me back there? Am I on? No? Now am I on? Now I'm on? No, I am on. Okay, good. So say that one more time if you don't mind.
I don't want to have to worry about money. My husband and I want to be able to serve a mission and not have to worry about money.
Okay.
And we know lots of people who've done it, and we want to know how they do it.
Okay. So I'm assuming right now you're worrying about money a little bit. Mm-hmm. How many of you are worrying about money? Has the economy crashed in the last few years? Is there adequate reason to worry a little bit? Right? There is. We're all in the same area. We're all experiencing these same things, right? This is all going on around us. How do we hedge against it? What do we do differently? What else? What do you guys want for retirement? Go ahead. You wanted to do it. I know it.
Oh, you know it.
You're in the front row, so.
I want to create a legacy.
Okay.
I want to build something I can leave behind.
Okay.
I can't do that when I'm putting food on the table, working every day.
Okay.
And at the same time,
I want him to be around. I don't want my kids to say, oh yeah, dad's the hardworking guy that he's always gone. I want dad to be home and be part of the family and be able to interact with our kids. We want to be able to take our kids to all of these great places that we're learning about in our school, and we can't because dad's working and, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Tell me your name.
Krista.
Krista, do you mind if I go into that a little bit more with you? Sure. Did you guys notice the emotion a little bit? Yes. Rise up. What can you talk about why the emotion? I know I'm picking on you, and I appreciate you playing here.
Because family is the most important thing in the world to me, and my husband provides a wonderful living for us, but he's not around, and he's the most important person in my life, and I want my children to be able to know him as well. Family is everything. Okay. And so without enough money to be able to have our family to do the things that I want us to do, he's going to be tied to the grind every day. Yeah. And while at least he enjoys what he does, it's not the same as having him home. It's not the same as having him be there to teach the children about his passion of history when he's stuck at the office. You know, he's not there to help our children with their math that he gets and I don't. Yeah. And, you know, if he's not there.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing. Anybody else want anything different? It's okay, you can want other things too. Family is wonderful. I want to speak to what you're saying there because I believe I have a really big belief in humanity. I meet with people all around the nation, and I get the unique experience to travel and to hear what it is that people are trying to create for themselves and what it is they want. I hear what keeps people up at night, what makes them cry, what motivates them to move and to continually try to find something different. Because the reality is for 97% of us, retirement isn't going to look like what we want it to. So whether you're right now, for everyone, think of it in your mind at least. If you're not going to share it with a group, that's okay. But think in your mind what it is that you're trying to create. What do you want? What do you want it to look like? If you don't ever think about it, it will never happen. I can promise you that. You've got to start somewhere. You've got to start with a specific plan. Because the journey that we're all on, where we all take this road, and we're all doing these things that we're supposed to do, and when we get to our working career, we do what everyone tells us to do, right? We put our money in these consumer-grade investments. We're here to talk about investing. We do know that today, right? Everyone, we're aware of that? Okay, good. Good. Right, but we put our money in these consumer-grade investments. We put it into our 401ks, like was mentioned. Our IRAs, we put it into gold. We put it into stocks. What else do we put our money into? Yeah.
our homes.
Our homes. Education. Let me ask you a question. Do any of those vehicles pay you on a monthly basis? So what happens when you get to retirement and you've got your money in those vehicles, and let's say you've even done a really, really good job at paying off your home, what happens? Is it enough? Can you retire and keep the same lifestyle? No, you can't. Guys, the reality is, and if you go onto the .gov websites of the Social Security Administration, you'll find out that 1 out of every 4 of us are 100% reliant on Social Security by the time we reach age 65. 1 out of every 4 of us are relying on it for 100% of our income. That's wild. Is Social Security, is that living? Is that a great retirement? No, it's sustaining, maybe, right? Oftentimes you're still relying on family and other things to help you just get by. So can we agree that this journey here, this road that we're on, this system that we've kind of plugged into, can we agree that it's broken? And that we've got to do something different? Raise your hand if you agree with that. Raise your hand if you're here still. Raise your hand if you're breathing. Okay, I've only got 30% of the room that's breathing right now. So hopefully you all are well versed in first aid. Guys, let me just pause for a second. I can promise you right now that I am not going to sell you anything. I'm not a wonderful, amazing presenter guy that went to school and does all NLP stuff and is trying to convince you something. I am going to give you amazing information that you probably don't know some of. And either it will work for you or it won't. For those of you that are skeptical by nature, please, a good dose of healthy skepticism is okay. But open yourself up enough to listen. I'll ask that of everyone here. We do this because, number one, we have a vision and a mission as a company. And that is to help the average person get into a different situation. You heard from Carolyn, who talked about her experience with us. They were in dire financial straits. And when they came to us, thought that there were no options. Let me ask you, Carolyn, do you have options? You have a lot of options. We're going to talk about some of those a little bit later tonight. I would invite you to open up a little bit. Play along, participate. You are going to get out of tonight whatever it is that you want. And so, for making it a little bit awkward for a couple seconds here, I ask you and invite you to participate. Because you will get what you want. If you want to be skeptical and receive some skepticism, and you'll get it. But if you want to receive something different that could possibly and potentially change your financial outlook completely, we have that too. So I'll invite you to open up a bit. I want to talk about 3 specific things tonight. I want to talk about, number 1, what is a game plan and why do we start with a plan? What do we do for people in the first place, right? Who are we? Number 2, where do we find these properties, these investments that actually work? And then number 3, how do we purchase them? Okay? So let's talk about game plan. Has anyone ever purchased a home, or not purchased, but built? Anyone built a home in the room? Okay. Can you tell me your name in the leather jacket? Steve. Great name. I couldn't have chosen a better one. That's fantastic. Steve, when you went to go build your home, can you talk about kind of the process just a little bit? What were some of the first steps you had to take, and what did it look like? Oh, sorry. Let me give you this so they can hear you in the back as well.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you either got to decide whether you're going to build it yourself or you're going to get a contractor.
Okay.
You got to have property
Okay.
to build on.
Yeah.
And you got to have financing.
Yep.
And you have to have a schedule to keep the contractors in place so that you get your property finished.
Okay.
Your home
What do the
finished.
contractors go off of to build a home?
Usually a construction loan.
Oh, I don't mean No, I mean do they have a plan?
Building plans.
Thank you. No. So why do you start with that blueprint? Why do they need that? Why don't they just go to Home Depot and get hammer and nails and start putting things together?
Because
What do you think?
you got to have something to follow. You got to have a plan.
Yeah, you have to, don't you?
Yeah.
Because I went to the Dominican Republic a few years back. Went with some good friends of mine, my business partners. And as we were driving to our resort, I looked to the side and I saw them building this building. And it was the strangest construction I've ever seen in my life. And there were literally like palm trees holding up the roofs that they were pouring in concrete. And I mean, it was, I don't know if they had a plan or not, but it didn't look like it. And I was thinking to myself, if I ever come back here, I want to remember not to go there. Let's not stay at that resort because it'll probably collapse in some time in the near future. But we start with a plan. And here's the thing. When we start to build a house, we got the plan, right? We lay the foundation. You get all the financing, everything in place. And then we start building it. We put the walls up and we put the roof on. And you put all the systems in the home and all these different parts and pieces that go to a complete home. And once you've got that completed house, once it's all done, do you start to take it apart board by board and brick by brick? We don't, do we? That would be ridiculous. People would look at you and be like, what are you doing? That's really silly, right? So if we don't do that with our homes that we build, our physical homes, why do we do it with our financial homes? And I'll argue that with our financial properties, we don't even start with a plan. With our financial homes, we just kind of do it, we're all told. We talked about the journey, right? We just do what we're told. And how is it working out? It's not. Not only that, but even if we've done well enough to build this financial home and it's got, you've built it up to this certain level, right? You've built up this pile of money, this financial property. Why do we then, with that financial home, do just that? Why do we take it apart, board by board and brick by brick, right? We dwindle it down, that big pile of money that we saved up for retirement. At retirement, what do? We spend it all. We just whittle it right back down to nothing, right? So what we're going to talk about today is having that specific game plan that can not only help you build a really solid financial home, but allow that home to pay you on a monthly basis. And allow that home to continue to grow into retirement and beyond and leave a legacy. For me, I definitely want to leave something behind for my children besides debt. Right? And if you want something similar, then we're going to have some fun conversations here. So for the first thing for us is that game plan. And by the way, for everyone here, just for being here tonight, you'll have an opportunity to receive your own free, customized game plan. How much does it cost? It's free. Okay? So you'll get your own free customized game plan. That game plan is there just to give you options. How many of you would feel it valuable to figure out if you had different options for something different that could add to your bottom line? Okay, again, about 5 of us. Everyone else can go home. We're done. Okay? So that's what we're going to have here for everyone tonight that wants it. So let's talk about the properties that we're doing. Let's just talk about the kind of real estate that we're doing. Because when we first got started, I told you Chris called me up, and this is about 8 years ago, and he said, Stephen, I'm doing real estate and I need your help. I said, well, tell me about what you're doing. He said, well, I'm getting to the point now where I'm buying 2 to 4 properties a month, and I can't manage it all by myself. I was in the situation where, because of my background, I had been searching and searching and searching for something different, and looking and not finding. And I was working my tail off and spinning my wheels, and I was making okay money. I was the highest paid employee of a home inspection firm out in Tampa, Florida. And so when Chris called me, I saw the opportunity for what it was. My opportunity. It was my chance to do something different and to break the mold of what my family had been through and experienced. And so I said, talk to me about it. And we started going through the details. And eventually I moved my family out here to Utah. And we were doing a lot of really, really good real estate. And as is pretty typical, I think, with that kind of a scenario, when you're doing something well, what happens? People notice. People start asking, what are you doing? And will you teach me? Well, to give you a little bit of background for that, Chris and I had worked previously, years before, for a company that sold real estate education and mentoring. And if anyone has anyone ever read a real estate book, Robert Kiyosaki or Robert Allen or anybody, Donald Trump? Real estate book, okay? A lot of us have. Has anyone purchased real estate mentoring or education? Not just from a book, but otherwise, okay? A few of us. Are you aware of the industry and the way it works? Let me just talk about it real quick, okay? You're invited to go to a full-day event, right? That's free. What's the purpose of that full-day event? Yeah. The whole purpose is to get you into their boot camp. Because what are you going to learn at the boot camp? How to make money, right? You're going to learn how to do the real estate, right? Whatever it is that they're trying to tell you how to do. And so you go to that one day, they sell you on the 3-day, and by the end of the 3-day, what do you know? Yeah, just enough to know that you need the 12-day. Yeah, or the personal mentoring package. And $30,000 to $50,000 to $60,000 later, you still don't know anything, and you're scared to death to move forward. Right? That's the industry. Less than 1% of people that go through and spend anywhere from $5,000 to $60,000 actually do anything with that education and with that mentoring, even though they're working with the gurus. Why? Huh? Okay, too hard. Isn't knowledge power? Huh? So I would just put out there that maybe knowledge isn't where the power is, but maybe experience is where the power is. And what's experience but applied knowledge, right? Actually going forward with what you've actually learned. Most people, they understand that first step into real estate could mean a $50,000 gain, but it could also mean a $50,000 loss. And that typically will keep people that'll keep 99% of people from making any kind of decisions and moving forward in real estate. And that's what we experienced. So when people came to us, as we were doing this real estate, and they were asking us, hey, will you teach us? Our knee-jerk reaction was to say, no, we don't want to teach you. Because what happens if I teach you and you don't have the same results that I had? What will you do? What's that? Yeah, you'll point the finger, but not at yourself. You'll point it at me. And so we said, no, we're not going to experience that. We don't want to be in that situation. And the interesting thing is people didn't stop asking though, right? We got random phone calls once a week, and all of a sudden these calls went from once a week to almost every day. We were getting a random phone call from someone that said, please, will you teach me? Please, will you teach us? And finally we said, look, we met, myself, Chris Crone, Kevin Clayson, the three founders of the company. We sat together and we said, look, if we can do something different, and different isn't always better, right? But if we can do something better, that's also different, and provide a system where we can actually help people to plug in and take advantage of the beauty that real estate offers while avoiding all of the heartache, or at least 95% of the heartache. Is that something that would interest people? What do you think? Let me ask you a question. If I was able to find you a home that cash flowed, increased your net worth, where you didn't have to spend hardly any time doing anything, and didn't have to worry about the upkeep and maintenance of it, but yet you got all the gain, would that be interesting to you? Yeah. Would that be interesting to you guys in the back? Yeah. To anybody in the back? Is there anybody? Okay, good. Maybe I need to move back here and, no, I was just kidding. You guys thought you were not in the front row, but you're going to be soon. I believe that most people are looking for something. Now let me ask you a question. Is Utah famous for scams? Yes. How many of you have been into a similar meeting like today? You've been invited to some sort of real estate presentation or other opportunity presentation. Okay? How many of you are skeptical? All the hands go up. No, I'm just kidding. Here's the reality of what we're doing here is what we decided was if we can take someone through the same process that we're experiencing, through the same system that we're created and we're doing now for ourselves and for our partners, and have them have the same results that we're having, then we can start talking about something a little bit different. And so what we did is we took on a couple clients, we took them by the hand, and we led them through a little bit of a different journey. We took them through a process that was proven and had a track record and was working again and again and again. And what we found is that not only did they have the exact same results that we did, but they also had the exact same results that we did. It was exciting. It was a lot of fun. They were doing the same things. They were experiencing net worth increases. They were cash flowing their properties. They were experiencing a good experience in real estate. And they would do it again and again and again, right? If I could help you do it one time, would you want to do it again? Of course. If it's working, you're going to want to do it over and over again. And so we built that system and started to really expand it. We said, look, what we need to do, in our company, we have a philosophy, which is if you want something done right, yes, do not do it yourself, right? We live in a DIY society, don't we? Where everyone tells you, do it yourself, do it yourself, do it yourself. Oh, you want to fix your car? Here, go on to YouTube, figure it out. And you want to build your house? Go on to YouTube and figure it out. And, you want to give someone spleen surgery? Go on to YouTube and figure it out, And so we live in a society that tells us we can do everything. But the problem is when we become a jack of all trades, we don't ever really excel in any of those things. Right? We're just kind of doing it all. So what we believe is when you want something done right, go to the experts. Let them. I'm not gonna perform spleen surgery on myself, right? I'm not gonna look it up on YouTube. I'm gonna go to a doctor who's done it time and time and time again, who has not just the knowledge, but the experience, and can help navigate around the hard places and hopefully not kill me, right? So that game plan is the most crucial part in that whole process. Let's talk about where we find these properties. Let's talk about the areas that we're in and why we're in the areas. By the way, does everyone understand what happened when the market crashed? Does anybody need some clarification maybe on that? Yeah, go ahead.
I know what happened.
Here, talk about what happened. Market crashed. What happened?
Right before the market crashed, we remodeled our house.
Okay.
Put $140,000 into it.
Okay.
Moved my grandparents in to live with us.
Okay.
The market crashed. We now have less equity than we had when we bought the house.
Yeah.
Before we put the $140,000 into it.
Yep.
So we have 2 mortgages
Yep.
on one house.
Yes.
And not enough money to make them.
Okay. So that's a fun experience, right?
Oh no.
Whole lot of learning. But what happened though? Why did the market crash? Overbuilt. Too many properties. By the way, just so everyone understands, and I may offend some people. Hopefully, I won't offend you. We didn't experience the crash here in Utah. We did not experience the crash here in Utah. Nope. We experienced a hiccup. I'm just talking about on the whole. I'm not talking about your personal finances. That's all right. We as a whole here in Utah did not experience the crash. We experienced a hiccup. Let's talk about who experienced the crash. First of all, when I'm talking about crash, I'm not talking about the market dropping 5% or 10% or even 15% or even 20%. I'm talking about a bottom out. Okay? The markets that we focus in are these markets. Why do we want to focus in on the markets that crash the hardest? Why? Yeah, that's where the most opportunity is, right? You guys know Warren Buffett. Who's Warren Buffett? Some rich guy, right? He's usually between, number 1 and number 5 richest people in the world. And Warren Buffett, before he invests in anything, he says, I need to make sure that whatever I'm investing my money in, it has a large margin of safety. What does that mean if an investment has a large margin of safety? Huh? Low risk, okay. Buy low, some said you're not going to lose maybe as much or don't have that possibility. So when he talks about this large margin of safety, what I love about this whole philosophy is when Warren Buffett goes in for anything, and especially in real estate. By the way, if anyone's interested and you like to go onto YouTube, there's a 3-hour interview that CNBC did with Warren Buffett. This was in February of 2012. And they kept asking him, Warren, what are you going to do next? What's your next big move? What stocks you're going to buy? What companies are you taking over? What are you doing next? And throughout this interview, they kept on kind of trying to pull that out of him, trying to get that insider information. And finally, Warren said, look, guys, just stop for a second. You want to know what the best investment right now of all time is? You want to know what the very best place to put your money is? He said single-family residences, bought on a distressed basis, financed over the long term, at the interest rates like we're seeing still today, may be the very best investment of all time. Do you think Warren Buffett kind of knows what he's doing when it comes to business? Do you think he'll make money in real estate? Well, he does. That philosophy of a margin of safety is crucial. The reason why we've gone into these other markets and right now aren't buying a lot of real estate here in Utah is because Utah has a smaller margin of safety. We can still do really great investing here. Before the market crashed and when everything was normal or even going up, we still bought homes with a margin of safety. That's our philosophy as well. But I want to talk about the specific margin of safety that we're seeing in some of these other markets. Specifically, and if you've got a pen and paper, please write these down. Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Orlando, Florida. Those are our 3 growth markets. Okay? We're also in Memphis, Tennessee, and Indianapolis, Indiana, which are more cash flow markets, not so much growth markets. But I want to focus for right now on the 3 growth markets. These are areas where at the peak of the market back in 2007 and 8, right before it all kind of turned over on its head, the average home that we're picking up right now for, again, write this down, for on average $135,000. That's the average purchase price right now in these areas. At the peak of the market, those same homes were selling for right around $300,000. a couple years ago, when we got into these markets, these same homes were selling for around $80,000. Now, let's talk about, let's first of all, in our minds, I'd like you to, if you're writing some of this down, take that $300,000 that you wrote down and just throw that away. It doesn't mean a whole lot, right? We know that that was an arbitrary number. It was overinflated. Home prices were artificially increased based on bidding processes and all this different stuff that shouldn't have happened, which is also one of the things that got us into this problem. But what we know is that the cost to build these properties, so these same properties that we're picking up right now for $135,000 on average, what do you think the cost to build those same properties is? Yeah, $200,000 to $230,000. Now, what does that even mean? That means you've got anywhere from a $65,000 to a $95,000 margin of safety. Okay? Now, this is a little bit of a different philosophy from what most of us have been taught our whole lives. Most of us have been taught in order for me to get a good gain or a good percentage yield investment, I have to have also what associated with it? High risk. Warren Buffett thinks the other way. Warren Buffett says, no, the lower the risk, the larger the margin of safety, the greater my return is going to be. Kind of interesting, right? Are Warren Buffett's results a little bit different than ours? I'll have you try on that it has nothing more to do than his philosophy and why and where and how he invests. Making money isn't hard. Wow, I lost a lot of people on that one. I'm kidding. Making money isn't hard, right? It's what do you do with it once it's made. Making money is nothing more than taking assets that are yielding low and putting them to areas of higher yield. That's it. That's what making money is about. The problem is for the majority of us, we are taught to put our money into areas that yield extremely low. While at the same time, the people that are taking our monies are putting our same monies into areas of higher yield for themselves. Kind of interesting, right? So it's all about taking back control. This is all about doing something different. It's all about stopping giving up all of your assets and income and money in your best 40 years of your life to someone who is teaching you a way in a system that just does not work. Okay? So we're going to these areas and we're buying these homes. And let me describe the type of properties because the reality of what we do is the real estate, it all fits into a very small box. We don't go out and do $1 million homes. Why? There's higher risk. Why is there higher risk in $1 million? What if I were to offer you today a home that was worth, and I could prove it, it's worth $2 million. I can give it to you for 1.5, right? That's $500,000 of equity. Okay, there's not very many people who can afford it, right? So your market, the demand for that type of home is very, very small, right? That's exactly right. That's one reason. So we go into these these mid-entry level home markets, and we're tapping into the very largest amount of people, the very largest demand in that type of area for that type of home. And we're talking about homes that are 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2 to 3 bathrooms. These are 1,700 square feet, give or take 20%. These are within typically 30 miles of a major metropolitan area. What that does is it ensures higher rents and lower vacancies because we're tapping in again to that population density. These are wonderful homes that, again, there's probably another 100 or so different little factors and variables that all allow them to fit into a very small box, which is why it works. Which is why what we do works again and again and again. Because for us, I can take a look back at the last 1,000 homes that we've done with our clients, and they all primarily look the same. What does that do for me? What does that do for you? Consistency, right? All of a sudden, if I can look back and gather actual data, when I move forward and I'm still buying the exact same type of homes and I'm keeping within the same exact system, I have a measure of predictability, right? It doesn't get rid of all risk, but it definitely helps to mitigate a lot of it. Is this starting to make sense a little bit? Do you understand now why we narrow it down to such a small little type of real estate, this commoditized form of real estate? This is what we've done. Okay? It's because it's predictable. It's got a track record. I know, for the most part, what's going to happen when I buy that home. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's like going to McDonald's and buying a hamburger.
Yeah.
No matter which McDonald's you go to in the world,
Yep.
you're going to get a hamburger.
You're going to get the hamburger. It's going to taste exactly the same. Unless you're in Japan and then they eat. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, but you're exactly right. It's going to take, you know the product, you know what it's going to produce, and you know exactly what it's going to look like. You know what to expect. You know pretty much what it's going to cost as well, right? It's all, you've got that predictability built in because you've done it again and again and again. So this is what the type of real estate that we're doing. And so that's really exciting because what it does for our clients is it allows them to see, well, number one, again, we're talking about that margin of safety. Not only is the price or the possibility for income and growth and net worth increasing really, really large, but you have another margin of safety there in the system that's created. We believe highly in systems in this company because systems, again, create that track record, which create provability and consistency and everything that we talked about. So we know we need a game plan, right? We know where we're looking for these homes and what we're finding and how we're finding them. How do we purchase these properties? Well, we talked a little bit earlier about the buckets, right? Where we put our money. What were some of those buckets again? 401ks, what else? Okay, savings, CDs. Where else do we put our money? Equity in our homes. Okay. Raise your hand if you've ever put money in a 401k. I think a lot of us have, right? That's one of those typical things that we're told to do. How many of you know that you can take back control of your 401k money? There's a couple of us that know that. You've heard of self-directing. Okay. Self-direction is a vehicle where you can actually take back control of your 401k monies. You can use that basically to invest in whatever is allowable by law, and real estate is one of those allowable investments. All of a sudden, instead of earning 4% on your investments, you can start doing what our clients are doing, which is on average earning 19.8% on their investment portfolios per year. Would any of you rather make 19.8% on your money rather than 4%? I don't know, maybe not. But that is what we're doing currently. Let's talk about a couple of the other buckets. Let's talk about home equity. How much does your home equity earn you? Huh? Someone said 0. It's actually worse than that. It costs you money. Every time you make your mortgage payment and that money goes into that little bank account of bricks, you're losing it at 3.14% ish. Right? That's the rate of inflation. 0.17%, something like that. Yeah. So that's interesting. We're told to do all these things, and what most people do is they want to pay off their home. Why?
Because they don't want to live out in the woods.
They don't want to live out in the woods. Security. Guys, can we please agree that it's not safe to do the things that we've been told? Because again, 97% of us are still going to end up in a place where we don't want to be. Even the ones that paid off their home. What happens to you when you're a senior citizen and you've paid off your home and you've retired and then you've got a paid off home? What happens when medical bills increase and everything else starts to change? What happens? What do you do with your home? You put it back on the market, or you get a reverse mortgage, or you tap back into it, right? You finally, in your age there of 65 plus, if you're retired, right? In that age range, you finally start giving yourself permission to invest your money or to pull it out and do something with it. But usually by then, you've lost a lot of time that you could have been doing something a little bit different. Just so you understand, I believe that paying off your home is important. I believe it's good. It gives you peace of mind. We are taught to do it not just because of the broken system, but I do believe it's a really good thing. What we help people understand is that rather than taking the first 30 to 40 years and paying off your home, only at the end of that 30, 40 years to have one paid off home, we can help you do it in a whole lot less time, first of all. And then by the time you get to that retirement age, not just have one paid off home that's not paying you monthly. Remember we talked about doing investments that pay you monthly? But I can actually have, at retirement, instead of one paid off home, 5 paid off homes or even 6 paid off homes, 5 of which are paying you on a monthly basis. Right? A little bit different. Pay off your home sooner. Do it a little bit differently. And plug into a system that actually works so that when you get to retirement, you don't just have one paid off home, but you've got 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 15 or however many you want. Because the reality is the system just works that way. This is what we help people to do day in and day out. And it all starts with that game plan that we mentioned earlier. So, We've got our kind of system laid out. You understand that, first of all, we need a game plan. Number two, we need to know where we're buying. We talked about where we're buying. We talked about how we're purchasing these properties. Oh, by the way, and I didn't mention this yet, but we do also own a mortgage brokerage as a company that has a 0 default rate. What does that mean? They all own their homes still. In other words, the system's working, right? I don't know any other mortgage company in the nation that can tout a 0 default rate. And by the way, 95% of our mortgages that we get for people are they're investment loans. It's investment financing, which means that, again, it's working again and again and again. Our average client purchases 2 homes in their first year. Why? Because it works. Raise your hand if you've purchased homes with us. Matt, would you come up? Yeah, I won't make this, I won't draw this out, but Matt, if you don't mind just coming up for a second. Oh, I didn't see you had your daughter in your hands there.
That's right. She's asleep.
Okay, good. Matt, would you mind just talking quickly about your experience that you've had with us and kind of what that journey was for you, getting started in the first place? And
Sure, like when I found the company or just my experience in the company?
in purchasing homes.
In purchasing homes, okay. When we joined, I've been in the company about 3.5 years, and when we joined, it took us a year to save up enough capital to buy our first home, and we bought it in Arizona. As you mentioned, there were about 80,000. We got ours for 83, 3-bed, 2-bath, and it was cash flowing about $250 a month, $252.26 a month.
He's not a numbers guy, though.
And then over the course of a little under 2 years, when you come in, you also get a coach that helps you, guides you, connects you with all the people all along the way. And I got a call from our coach that said, hey, we want to take a look at this home. We think the value of it's probably gone up significantly and see what we can do with it. So I said, oh, well, okay. And it turns out the value is now $120,000 because prices were going up, and he said, okay, so we have some options, and if you would like, we can take this money out, refinance it, pull some money out, and buy another. And I said, yeah, I like. So we did that, and we got our second home, and right about that same time, I have great credit. It's something I've taken care of, and I ran into someone at a Strongbrook event that said, hey, do you want to be a partner with us to buy a home? And thinking that he was looking for someone with cash to buy a home with, I said, I'm a credit partner. I'm looking for a cash partner too. And he said, oh, great. I have cash, but I don't have credit because I'm an entrepreneur. I said, oh, okay, that'll work. He's a barber, so, banks don't like him. But we partnered together, and we got another home, also in Arizona, and they're all doing very well. It's been a great experience. I guess what I like the most is I don't really have to know a lot about doing it. My coach says, hey, we might be ready to do another one. I say, great. And then they show me some homes, and I say that one, and I'm under contract the same day. And then it's just filling out the paperwork of the financing that you do through a loan. If you've ever bought a home, it's all the same. And sign your life away on closing, and that's
awesome.
About it.
Hey, thank you, Matt. Let's give him a good round of applause. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. So let me just talk about the system and kind of how it works. Like Matt said, when someone starts with our company, they purchase what's called a professional service agreement. It's a PSA, we call that. This PSA basically allows you to have that client services coordinator, that coach that's going to really be there for you every step of the process. Like I said in the very beginning, how we just took people by the hand and we helped them through every single step of the process. In other words, we found the homes for them. We helped them get the proper financing on the property. We helped them actually take care of the property. In other words, get renters in it. We help them manage and maintain the property. And then, as the property is growing and increasing in value, we actually are taking and keeping track of those properties on a quarterly basis, looking at the market fluctuations and what's going on, checking the rental demands and what's happening in the rental market, if the rents need to be increased or whatever the case is. We keep track of all of that for you so that, just like when Matt was ready, when we saw that there was some possibility, some growth there in his portfolio, we called up Matt and said, Matt, this is probably the right time. This is a good time to possibly access some of this. Would you like to? And Matt is like 90% of all of our other clients, and they say, yep, I'm ready to go forward and get my next one. And all of a sudden, your real estate is purchasing more real estate for you. You're not having to come back out of your back pocket for more money and more money to go and do more and more real estate. We help you do it right the first time, and your real estate can start to grow and multiply your portfolio. Okay? Do you see the power in that and how that works? Okay? So, once you're connected with your coach connects you with all the different aspects of the real estate process. They connect you with the experts. They start browsing the hot properties with you. You start closing on those properties. We get them leased out. And at that point, it kind of gives you a good opportunity to take a look back and say, okay, did this work the way I expected it to? Did it work the way they said it was going to? Am I cash flowing my property? Is it increasing my net worth? And if so, do I want to do it again? And at that point, usually our clients will then just set the pace and start doing as much as they possibly can once they have reached that kind of comfort level. And it's fun to watch that because oftentimes it's interesting. People will come to us and say, hey, these are the amount of assets I have to work with. And once they see that it works, all of a sudden assets start coming out of all the wood. They start coming out of everywhere. I'm like, wow, where'd you get all these assets from all of a sudden? But it's fun because they get to really start to grow and multiply their legacy that they're trying to build. There are, what I'd like to do is kind of transition a little bit here for just a second. Is Ryan Jayton here? No, he's not. Okay, good. Then I will do a different sort of transition. Every time that I go out anywhere and speak to groups, I know that there's two different groups. Meaning there are people that have assets and money and credit and that can get started right now and start investing with us. I also know that there are individuals that don't. People like me that started off with nothing. Or maybe even worse than nothing. Or maybe they're starting over. Maybe they just went through a divorce or foreclosure or short sale or bankruptcy or whatever. When we first started this company, we only had the ability to go after those that had money. We had programs that could help them. That PSA that I mentioned before, we had it on 3 different levels, and we still do 3 different levels. You can do either 1 property with us, you can do up to 4 properties with us, or you can do an unlimited amount of properties with us. And that professional service agreement, that PSA, has different costs associated with those, right? So if you want to do the 1 property, it's $5,500. If you'd like to do the 4 properties, it's $8,000. And if you'd like to do the unlimited properties, which is our most popular package, it's $16,000. Okay, so those are the 3 packages that we had, and what we realized is that was a huge deterrent for people that didn't have it right now, that couldn't do it. Not only did they not have that entry level fee, but they also didn't have the money to go out and do real estate, and so they needed some help in that preparation process. And so as we kind of put our heads together, what we really want to do is we've always wanted to help as many people as we possibly could. And we came up with a program which I like to refer to as our partnering program, which is really, really powerful, where we're able to help people with no money and no credit be able to get started in doing the exact same type of real estate that the other groups are, just it's a little bit of a different process. Is anyone in this room interested in hearing a little bit about how to do that with no money and credit? A few of you? Okay. So, let me ask you a quick question. Tell me your name one more time. Joseph. I don't know if I asked you before or not, but Joseph Stephen. If I came up to Joseph and I said, Joseph, I'll tell you what, I've got this fantastic deal. I've got a system that works in real estate, and I can prove it. I can show you bank statements and all that kind of fun stuff. But I don't have any money and credit. Okay? You've got money and credit. I'll do all the work in management, and we'll split that real estate deal 50-50. What do you say?
Sure.
Makes sense, right? That's a very typical real estate partnership scenario. Okay? Now, what happens though is let's say that I go up to Joseph and I give him that scenario, and Joseph says, you know what, Stephen, I'm on to you. You told me already a little bit about Strongbrook. Okay, so rather than splitting my gains with you, rather than splitting the profits with you, instead I'm going to bypass you, and I'll pay the $16,000 and get started with Strongbrook and start doing real estate with them, and I'll keep 100% of the gain. You will keep, right? Joseph will keep 100% of the gain. I'm hopefully confusing everybody really, really badly right now. So, Joseph says, I don't want to partner with Stephen. I want to do it with Strongbrook. He wants 100% of the gain. He's going to bypass me. What's interesting and what's really fun here is Strongbrook will say, you know what, Stephen? Just for you making the effort and trying to create that partnership, but although Joseph bypassed you, we're going to retain Joseph as an indirect partner for you. And I say, well, what do you mean by that? And they say, well, here's what's going to happen. Joseph is going to start transacting real estate, right? That's what you do. You're not going to get started with our company unless you're going to start transacting real estate that way, okay? So Joseph's going to start transacting. How many homes does our average client purchase in their first year? 2. Okay? So Joseph is going to go off and he's going to start transacting real estate. He's going to start purchasing homes. And all of a sudden, Strongbrook's going to come to me and say, Stephen, we're keeping track of what's happening here. Joseph, by the way, who you brought to us, who we're retaining for you as an indirect partner, he's already transacted 2 homes. Now what happens if I go out to the rest of you in this room and I do the exact same thing that I just did with Joseph? I ask you if you want to partner with me. You say no. You go to Strongbrook instead. Everyone bypasses me. Nobody likes me. Strongbrook says, I'm going to still retain all these people as an indirect partner for you, Stephen, just because you made those connections and are trying to do real estate. All of a sudden, you all start transacting homes. You all start purchasing properties. It works, so you do it again and again and again. And what Strongbrook says is as soon as 75 homes have been transacted from those inside of any of those indirect partnerships that I just made, they will pay me a check for $35,000. Now, this is important. $35,000 is the amount of money that someone needs to go into one of our hot markets that we mentioned, Phoenix, Vegas, or Orlando, and purchase a property. That $35,000 includes down payment, closing costs, realtor loan fees, 6 months of reserves. All of a sudden, someone in my situation who had no money and no credit can start creating these indirect partnerships, and all of a sudden I'm earning money in real estate. Is that powerful for anybody? This is something that I've never seen anywhere and probably will never see anywhere else besides what we're doing here. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why is because, number one, it's really hard to do. We sat down with really people that were a lot smarter than us, that knew what they were doing, and we leaned on the experts. And we were able to devise a way for people that, regardless of, again, their financial situation, income or credit, could start investing in real estate by just creating those indirect partnerships. And by the way, if I bring Joseph to the table, in the meantime, Strongbrook will also just send me a check for $3,000. Let me ask you a question. If you brought someone to the table who could invest in real estate and was looking for these type of systems that we've got here and this plan that we give people, and it would work for them and what they're trying to create, would you be opposed to me writing you a check between $1,000 and $3,000? Would anyone send it back? All right, fair enough. So that's what we do. We all of a sudden we give people like myself with no money, no credit, not only a way to earn some great money up front by getting a referral check, but all of a sudden earning that money in real estate and the ability to start gaining a performing real estate portfolio. That's where the true power is, guys. It's all about getting to a specific point in your life where you're not having to worry about where the money's coming from. Right? Because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen a week from now or a month from now. Yes?
Typically, how long does it take investing before you are at a place where you don't have to worry where that money's coming from?
So we create for people typically a 5 to 10 year game plan. This is definitely not get rich quick. This is a very specific plan with specific steps that will get you from where you are to where you want to be. And what I will ask everyone in the room to do is to think of what your number is. And what I mean by that is, what do you need on a monthly basis to either maintain or even improve your current financial situation through retirement? If something were to happen to you today and you were forced into retirement, what would you need on a monthly basis to live well and not have to rely on the Social Securities or the family members or whatever else? What does that number look like for you? Once you understand that number, we can then reverse engineer. We can then plug you into our system and help you understand specifically for you, because these game plans are very, very specific. Everyone in this room is in a different financial situation. And I don't know you yet, but I do know that if I sat down with each and every one of you individually, I could, number one, find out where you are, and I can, number two, prescribe a plan that would work for you. I know I can do that. If I can get to where I am right now, coming from nothing, I know for a fact that I can help anybody do the same thing. And it doesn't matter what their situation is or was or is going to be. We can help them. We can help you. Okay? So that's what we offer. Thank you. Great question. So what we've created now are these two different options. Oh, and by the way, you don't need to pay $16,000 to participate in making those indirect partnerships. It's a different program. It's actually $499, $499 a month. That allows you not only to start learning about our real estate, how to do it, but it also allows you to start earning those checks, those commissions. The beautiful thing about that is also 100% of that $499 and $99 a month for that person who's just trying to get a leg up and get started, 100% of that goes towards the eventual purchase of one of the other transactional professional service agreements that we mentioned before, right? The $5,000, the $8,000, and the $16,000 level. So no matter where you are now, we have an ability here at Strongbrook to help anybody, regardless of where you're sitting, regardless of what you've been through, regardless of what kind of life has punched you in the face. We can help you get started and back on the road and start creating a real estate portfolio for yourselves. It's really, really powerful. So what I'd like to do is, Steve Earle, are you in the house? Steve Earle in the house. Come on up, Steve. Let's give Steve Earle a big round of applause. Everyone, Steve Earle is the CEO, one of the partners and owners of the company. And Steve Earle was actually the first person that Chris went to, or one of the first people that was actually able to provide the types of homes that we're now providing for our clients, that have the equity and that have the growth possibility and all that. Would you mind just talk about a little bit of your experience in the beginning and kind of what it was and what happened and why you were able to really step into that role and start providing those type of properties for people?
Yeah, sure. So my background is in small business. It has been since I was a kid, actually. And I was in the construction industry for many years. And in 2004, I sold that company because I had started investing in real estate personally and was enjoying it so much that I thought it would be awesome to do it full time. So I sold that company and started basically flipping homes was my model. It's kind of a risky model, and I still remember the very first home that I did, and I still remember how much money I made on the deal. The house cost me $205,000, and I put about $20,000 into it. I did way too much work, but it was a lot of fun, and I made I think it was like $62.15 when all is said and done. My realtor made like $6,000, and I walked away with the $62 and change. That was my very first experience flipping a home, and I got better at it as I did more and more. And I realized I was buying enough homes that I should probably get my real estate license because I thought I could get a 3% discount, and so I got my license and kept buying homes, and I very quickly realized that I didn't have enough money to buy all of the good deals that I was finding. And so as an agent, I thought it would be great to maybe help my friends and other investors who were small business owners buy real estate. And so I started doing that, and that was a lot of fun. So I was doing my own investing, and I was helping friends and family and business associates buy their properties. And that's how I ran into Chris Crone. He came across the Earle report. This is a report that I sent out to my list of clients on a weekly basis. It was a list of what I felt like were the best deals in Utah County. And so Chris came across this list and gave me a call one day, and so I started helping him buy homes, and lo and behold, it actually found out that we were practically neighbors. We lived like 2 blocks away from each other, and so that was kind of a nice thing. And so I helped Chris buy a lot of homes. He was this young, really ambitious guy, and he had this model, and it seemed to work really well. And one thing led to another, and I worked with him for probably about 18 months, almost 2 years. Before him and Kevin and Steven started Strongbrook and Strongbrook REIC. And they actually asked me to come on board with them at that time, and I politely declined. I had this little cool gig going and do my real estate thing and my investing, and I just sold a company where I had a bunch of employees and a lot of overhead and so on, and I just wasn't ready yet for to do that again. And about 6 months later, they kept working on me, and I eventually came around and saw the light and saw that this really cool system that they had put together was working really well. And so I came on board, and from that point, about 6.5 years ago, I've served as the CEO of the company. And when we started the company, just give you a real quick history of the company, if I can take just a second. When we got going, we had this idea, this concept, because real estate is so local. It's really hard to buy outside of your area and do it well. I mean, it's very risky to buy something that's kind of outside of your own backyard because does anybody own their own house here? A couple of people own their own house. If you own your own house, you'll know that the value of your house in your neighborhood, if you take it and you move it 2, 3, 4 blocks away, it literally can be worth thousands of dollars more or less just based on location. And so if you're an investor and you're trying to figure out, what's a good investment, if you're buying at a distance, how do you know you're getting a good home? And how do you know you're not being taken? And how do you do the rehab? And the scariest and the hardest thing is how do you manage that property after you've bought that property? And so that's kind of what we do. And the goal that we had was we wanted to be able to take investors living anywhere in the United States and help them buy property anywhere in the United States. Because being investors ourselves, we knew and we realized that we heard about all these good deals in other markets and so on. It's like, man, I wish that we could buy some of those, but we're kind of limited to our little location here. And so we had this huge goal of being able to match up investors and properties from long distances. So fast forward, 6.5 years now, we now have clients in all 50 states, and we have these 5 hot markets, and we've literally helped our clients buy thousands of properties. And the system that we put together, it works very, very well. And the bottom line is that it's real and it works, and we got a track record. And we now have over 50 full-time employees at our corporate headquarters here in Orem that help with the whole process of everything that we do. And then we have another, somewhere between 100 and 200 independent contractors and so on that work in our 5 hot markets to help find properties, rehab properties, manage them, and so on. And so it's quite a logistical program that we've put together. And then we've got the marketing concept that Stephen is introducing right now, where we have independent business developers, and there have been several thousand at this point who have come on board and who have worked with us and are working with us to promote Strongbrook and our strategies and our systems and our processes. And besides real estate, as a company, we're all about creating, growing, managing, and protecting wealth through real estate. And so we have a number of other products and services and so on that we have to offer and so on. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, that's perfect. Okay. What I'd like to do is I'm going to keep you up here, if you don't mind. Sure. I want to say thank you, first of all, for being here, for coming and supporting whoever invited you out here as well. And what I'd like to do is really just turn the time over to you. I'd like to just open up the floor for questions. Any questions that you have, by the way, there's nothing that's off limits. Please ask away, and we'll do our best to answer. So what questions do we have? Yeah.
So you're saying that basically it costs $35,000 to buy one of those homes you described in Arizona?
Yeah. So
say that you got $70,000.
Well, just to clarify, it's $35,000, down payment. That's not the cost of the home, obviously, right? It's $35,000 to
out of pocket, yeah.
to get into the home.
Correct.
So if you had $70,000 equity, you could pull out of your house. You could buy 2 homes.
Yes.
But then on top of that, you'd have to come up with $8,000 to be able to participate.
Correct. Yeah, $5,500, $8,000, or $16,000. Correct.
But to buy 2 homes, it would be 8.
It would.
You said 4 homes up to
it would.
8,000.
Correct. Yep.
And so, and then, like all expenses paid, you're saying that, like this guy here said, you get about a little more than $200 a month. You have as cash flow coming in.
I'd say our average right now is probably in the 100 to 150 range per month of net cash flow after all expenses are paid.
After I refinanced that first one, of course my mortgage went up, and so that changed the cash flow. So it was about 150 after the refinance. The other one was about 100. So.
Well, and let me clarify on that as well, because we have 3 of our markets are equity growth markets, and our other 2 markets, which are Indiana and Tennessee, are cash flow markets. So in our cash flow markets, you're going to cash flow closer to $350 to $500 a month. But you don't have the same upside because those markets didn't see the same type of crash that the other markets saw. So depending on what your situation is, some people are more interested in the month-to-month cash flow, and in those cases, we recommend that you go to a cash flow market. If you're more interested in the equity opportunity, then we have you go to the equity growth market. So it depends. Your question, it depends on what you're wanting to accomplish.
Ultimately, looking like the kind of general question you threw out, at least I got, was you're looking to be able to have some income so that ideally, I guess, you could quit your job and you would be making it. So if you want to pursue that goal.
Yeah.
So I would just state on that, that's why a game plan is so important, because then we get to figure out, what are your goals? What strategy do you want to employ? So at that point, you may buy one equity home and one cash flow home. Or if your goal is to have more growth because cash flow isn't as important right now, then you go into those markets and you buy properties that are increasing in equity or in value at a quick rate in order to grow and buy more properties. So it's just that we have clients who are just in a position where all they're interested in is the cash flow because, they just need to get to a certain point in order to cover certain expenses, and they have enough money right now to go and do that. And what they're currently invested in isn't producing that, but these homes potentially could. That's why it's so important. That very first step is just get that game plan and figure out where you're at and what you need to do.
Yeah. Did we answer your question? Restate it. Yeah, go ahead. Or ask another one.
I'm the one that's going to ask. Other people are thinking this. Okay, anytime, this sounds like an almost for sure deal. Like you can't lose, really.
Well, you can.
So
it is real estate and there is risk.
How many people lose then and end up, we hear about all the successes. There's got to be some failures. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So, sure. So he said it looks like, and for everyone, by the way, just so everyone knows, we're live streaming, so there's people all around the nation that are watching this as well. The question was, and I'll get you in just a second back there as well. The question was, it sounds like this is a for sure deal and you almost can't lose. What are some experiences, some bad experiences that some clients have had, or are there bad experiences? I'm going to go ahead and defer to Steve on that one.
So just to answer that really quick. If you look at government statistics, so 90% of all small businesses fail within the first couple of years. Everybody's heard that, right? Well, it's no different in real estate. The typical person getting into real estate, 90% of them fail within the first couple of years. And failure can be defined in many, many different ways. It can be just a matter of they didn't like being a landlord, so they got out of it and they're done with that business. Someone, may have negative cash flow every month, and so they get out of it. Somebody may have bought at the wrong time, or they bought wrong, and so they failed. In this company, we had hundreds of clients before the real estate crash that you guys were talking about earlier. And I can count on one hand the people that I'm aware of, maybe there's more, but the people that I'm aware of who lost properties, due to the crash in the market. Whereas I had friends and many people, business associates who weren't associated with what we're doing, people are losing homes left and right. And so individuals who are working with our company, yes, there have been, some failures where people, lost properties due to that crash. I'm not aware of anybody who has lost a home, or for that matter, lost money in the last probably 4 years or so implementing the strategy that we employ. That's not to say that there aren't some. I'm not aware of any of them, and I typically become aware of them. And so
Steve is in charge of all of our compliance, by the way, so if anyone knows, he would know.
But with real estate, there is some risk. Our goal, our objective, whenever you invest in real estate, you're dealing with property, you're dealing with an asset, you're dealing with people who are tenants. And whenever you get that combination together, there's a certain amount of pain that goes along with the investment. What we do is we reduce the amount of pain that you feel significantly. We do probably 90% of the heavy lifting. It's still your home. You own it. You're responsible for it. You're accountable for it. In the end, you'll have that relationship with the property manager who we align you with, and we kind of play middleman. But in the end, you're the decision maker. You're the one, choosing what to do with the property and so on. So there is, there's some issue there, but there's no investment that's risk free. But I'm not aware of any real estate investment that is as risk free or as little risk as this program.
Real quick, we had one way in the back. She's yell it out. Okay. He said, what is the typical financing for one of the properties in the hot markets? Is it a 10-year term? Usually we're doing very traditional financing. In other words, you're getting a 30-year loan on the property, and you're subject to the typical rules, for the most part, that your average lender is going to require. You have to, satisfy conditions and do all that kind of stuff. Like I said before, though, because we specialize in investment financing, we have specific programs that we have available to us that most mortgage brokerages don't. Because of our track record and what we've been able to do for our clients, the lenders that we utilize understand how the homes that our clients get perform. And again, they can also start to have a measure of predictability. And so there are certain programs that allow our clients, for example, to get homes number 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, where you may otherwise be stopped in your tracks at home number 2 or 3. You know what I mean? So good question. Did you have a follow-up onto that? Yep. Good question. He said, do these lenders understand income potential do they add that into the equation? And I'll say yes. We do have banks that allow us to utilize 75% of the subject property's projected rents as income. And by the way, in these areas, if your average home is $135,000 and you're putting 20 to 25% down, so you're getting a loan on $105,000 or $110,000. Your average payment, depending on your interest rate, of course, there's a lot of factors in there, but it's probably going to be in the $600 to $700 range, right? If your rent is, let's call it $900 to $1,000, you've got a spread there. Now, if the bank is allowing you to use 75% of that rental income, that $1,000 as income, all of a sudden you've just wiped out your debt-to-income ratio that would have otherwise been added to your current portfolio, okay? That allows you to do home number, the next, and the next, and the next. It allows you to continue to purchase real estate, where again, otherwise, and with other lenders and other mortgage lenders, would you be stopped in your tracks? Does that make sense? Okay, good question. Yes, right here.
Currently, if a good credit investor comes in and signs on the mortgage and takes 20% of the net cash flow, what is the company's net cash flow for that 20% investor right now currently?
What is the net cash flow for the 20% investor? It would be 20% of anywhere from $100 to $150. 20% of 100 to 100, so about 20 or 25. Sure. Yeah.
That's after all expenses.
That's net cash flow. Mm-hmm.
And the only thing they've done is signed on the mortgage.
Yep. Yeah, good question. Sorry, we had another back here. Yep. Yeah, you. Sorry. These are investment properties. There are, I'm sure, possibilities to get a second home, but I know that there's certain rules associated with it. Understand that we are going to do legal real estate, always. So you can't tell us, hey, I'm buying a primary residence down in Arizona. No, you're not. It's an investment property, and so we're going to make sure that we're keeping in line with all the regulations and rules. We're very, very compliant in that regard. So if it is truly a second home, and you're treating it like a second home and not like an investment property, then yeah, you can do that. But if it's an investment property, you're going to get investment financing on it. Good question. Yes?
Has the company, anyone in the company, had success approaching the financial planners that are managing portfolios? Are they excited to involve themselves in real estate, or are they staying in the more conventional investment? The reason I bring that up is I was talking with one manager, and he said last year they generated a 29% return for their clients who were pilots, retirement accounts, and I thought, gee, that's a pretty good return. How would you get someone interested, to go to a 19% return?
Well, it's pretty tough to do. Most people aren't making 29%. So if you're making 29%, I'd say leave your money there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I will say something to that too. Well, maybe I shouldn't. I got Steve here in the room. I would say other things if he weren't here. No, I'm just kidding. Here. Let me just say this. Real estate has the potential to earn a whole lot more than that.
Wait a minute. My
Go ahead.
question was: Are these managers encouraging a percentage of their portfolios to get into real estate?
Probably.
Well, not with other people. They earn their money by building their portfolio and having people make investments where they're earning a percentage of it.
Yeah.
So typically, if sometimes we have people who come to us and they say, "Oh, I've got this financial planner. I think he would love this." That's typically not the scenario, because we're taking assets from them, and so they're usually not overly excited about it. Whether they're earning 29% or whether their people are earning 2%, they feel like that's their livelihood, and so that's where they try and keep their people's money.
Yeah. Right here.
Can you give an example of a cash flow property? Where it would be located, what the specifics of that would be, and what the revenue would be, and also an example of maybe a typical equity earning property, also where it would be and what the specifics would be regarding that.
Yeah, so we've covered some of that, but let's just talk about it again real quick. So our cash flow markets are Memphis, Tennessee right now, and Indianapolis, Indiana. You go out and buy a home, and I think you probably know the ranges of those homes a little better than I do right now, but I believe it's in the $100,000 to $120,000 range. And so you're buying a home for $100,000 to $120,000, depending on what you want to do. Again, realize there's different strategies in all of these, what we're talking about. You can buy it cash, or you can finance it. Obviously, if you're buying it cash, you're cash flowing the whole amount, which is going to be on average, $900, $800 a month, ish, in the cash flow areas. If you're financing it, like Steve said, you're going to cash flow in the $350 to $500 range. Okay, so it just kind of depends, but that's the cash flow markets. The hot markets right now, the average price is $135,000, right around there right now. You're going to put 20 to 25% down, depending if you're buying home number 2 or 5 or 6. And your cash flow is going to be in the, usually right now, I think $100 to $150 range. So, but your growth, where the equity play is right there, is, just depending on what happens in the market. You've got, right now what we're seeing is a potential $75,000 to $125,000 gain over the next 2 to 5 years.
And I'd also point out from characteristic point of view of these homes, they're typically, as Stephen mentioned earlier, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, typically in an HOA. The homes in the equity markets, they're a little bit more new. They're built in typically in the 2000s and newer. In Memphis and Tennessee, they're a little bit older, but not much older. We do have a lot of experience in the Midwest, and we learned through personal experience, what to buy, where not to buy, what price range, what demographic, that kind of a thing. And so these homes mirror very closely the homes in our equity markets, where they're a little bit newer. The demographics are such that, rental situations are good situations and so on. And they're nice. These are nice homes.
Yeah.
We don't have photos of them here, but they are really nice homes.
Go onto our website, by the way. You can go on there and actually look at, there's a little button down in one of the pages that says actual deals, where I think we've got 40 or 50 actual homes that we've done, and they all look pretty much the same. They're all pretty vanilla. So go take a look at it, but you'll see these are, like he said, 20 years older, newer typically, and very, very good-looking homes. Another question right here?
I was just wondering, the 19% return that you talk about, is that net cash flow to the person who has 100%, or is that including the increase in equity over the years?
It's including the increase. Yep. Good question. Yes?
I have a specific question about if you already own a home and you have quite a lot of equity in that home already, then that home, is your company set up where you could take somebody's existing home, help them
Yes.
finance it in a way that you can pull out the money
Yes.
a second home?
Yeah, so the question was, if you have a current home, your primary residence that has equity in it, can you access those equity funds to be able to purchase other properties in other areas? And the answer is yes. That's one of the main ways, or one of the ways that we help people do this a lot. We mentioned the different buckets that people put their money into. Home equity is one of them. 401ks, stocks and different things. There's different buckets. We can help someone utilize just about every one of those buckets to purchase the real estate that we're offering for people. Yes.
And how many purchasing homes does it take to be able to build up that reserve that you can then not worry about where the money's coming from?
So we have an acronym called TOP. We call it Total Out of Pocket to get into home. And right now that average is about $30,000. So with $30,000, you can typically get into one of the properties.
Did I answer your question? Tell me your question one more time.
The question was, how many homes do you have to purchase? So we're doing this, buying a home, getting a little bit of cash flow, and buying another home, getting some cash flow. How many homes does it typically take to be able to provide, to get to a point where you can say, I'm not worried about where the monthly income is coming from?
So that just depends on what your goal is. And that's why in the beginning I said everyone figure out what your number is. If your number is $5,000 a month to be comfortable, then what we're going to do is we're going to plug that into our system and say, okay, you need to start with one here. Over the next 2 to 5 years, it's going to turn into 3 or 4, which is going to turn into X amount of homes. And the goal is in a 5 to 10 or 15-year period, depending on your time frame, is to get you to a point where you've got free and clear real estate that's providing you a monthly income that you can then live on, right? And so it just depends on what that monthly income is for you. If it's 5, 10, or 15, or 20, it's going to be a little bit different in the scenarios and how we go about it. Yeah.
And how much time am I going to have to spend managing?
Good question.
Like I'm going to have 5 or 10 homes.
Yeah.
How much time does that take?
So you're going to have to pay the monthly mortgage, and then you're going to have to pay the monthly mortgage. That's really, for the most part, that's all that you're going to be mostly responsible for. Steve, no, Steve Earl, no. Steve did mention that you are going to be the one in the relationship with the property management companies. But let me talk to that point real quick, just to help you understand what it is that we do there. We own a property management company here locally that helps to manage our properties here locally. But we do it very, very differently than most other property management companies do. So what we do for our clients is, instead of managing their properties, we don't own the property management companies in these areas. We manage the property management companies. What this does for a client is, for example, the average cost to have a property managed usually ranges in the 10 to 12% of the gross monthly rent. Right? So that's usually the range. It's usually 10 to 12% of the gross monthly rent. So if your rent is $1,000, you'll pay the property management company anywhere from $100 to $120 a month. Okay? What we've been able to do is, because of the sheer volume that we do with these property management companies, they've negotiated that down to 8% for our clients. So that's one wonderful thing. Number two, if you are putting your one home with a property management company and they've got hundreds of homes to manage, your one home in a bucket, just a drop in the bucket, basically. If something goes wrong in your property, they'll get to it eventually, right? They don't have this huge urgency because, again, they're not worried about losing you as a client because you're one out of hundreds. In our cases, with our clients, we put hundreds of homes with any one property manager. And so your home isn't just one in the a drop in the bucket. You're one out of 300, and they basically treat you like as if you own those 300 homes. They roll out the red carpet. They make sure that you're taken care of, because if they don't, we have the ability to go to those companies and say, okay, we're going to now take up the whole portfolio and we'll just put it with somebody else. I'll let you guess how many times we've had to do that. We haven't yet. We haven't had to make that switch yet. And so they really do bend over backwards for our clients. Whenever there is a problem, which again, Steve said, we don't get rid of all problems, but we do help to mitigate a lot of that risk. When there is an issue that needs to be addressed, it's addressed very, very quickly. And so it's a huge benefit to our tenants, not only cost-wise, but also in speed of action and everything else. So, good question. Yeah, so the question was, is there a time where you may not have renters where you'll have to cover the mortgage? Do you want to talk about the SWAN account?
Sure. So our average days on market to get a home rented is 42. That's the average. So some are a little bit longer, some are a little bit shorter. Some of the homes are rented out before, well, within days of closing. Others, can take 2 months, 3 months. So it really depends, and it depends on a number of factors. But like I say, the average time is about 42 days. And that's why we have something that's called a sleep well at night account, or a SWAN account. That's kind of your assurance that you'll have the funds necessary in the event that there's an unexpected vacancy or an unexpected repair, that kind of a thing. And so that's part of the whole plan that's put in place, just to make sure that you're in a good situation when you buy the property.
Yeah, good question. What other questions do you have? Yep.
So you talked earlier about having indirect partners.
Yeah.
But can you talk about having direct partners?
Yeah. So we've talked about that a little bit as well. So the direct partners would be, for example, someone has money and someone has credit, but they don't have the other of the two, right? And so they get together and they form a partnership. They form an LLC done by lawyers that takes into consideration the needs of both parties and exit strategies and everything else. Those partnerships happen all the time with our clients, because what we know is going to happen with everybody is at some point you're going to run out of your own credit, right? You can only put up to 10 homes on your credit currently. Actually, we do have some lenders that will work around that a little bit, but let's just call it 10. So you can only put a certain amount of homes on your credit. You also are at some point, if you're continually investing in real estate, going to run out of your assets, right, as things are growing and as your portfolio is moving. So because we know that those things are going to happen to everybody, when it happens to one and the other side happens to the other, they want to continue to invest but can't do it on their own. So they just team up and continue to invest together.
So do both of them have to have purchased a PSA with Strongbrook?
Uh-huh. In that scenario, if they are both clients of ours. But if you want to go grab a partner that's not a client of ours, you can. And we will, but just so you understand, we will only work with you. So we're not going to work with your partner. You will be the go-to person in that partnership. Okay? Oh, I had a question up here first.
Yeah, just a question about after the renters are done renting and you want to sell them, isn't there damage? Sometimes you have to do a little fix-up.
Yeah.
Who pays for that?
You do. Yeah, the owner of the home. And so that's part of that SWAN account that we were talking about, that Sleep Well at Night account. I want to make sure everyone understands a little bit of something of the care and attention that goes into finding these tenants for you. We're not looking for just any random person off the block. And actually, as we've seen ourselves here in the recession, the rental market actually improves, and you can be pickier because you get this influx of potential renters, people that have lost their homes that need to rent. So we can be very picky. We're looking for people that can afford 2.5 times what the rent is anyway. Oftentimes dual income families that are looking to purchase again at some future date, so they take care of the properties. We've had experience in other markets that Steve mentioned where it all looked great on paper, but the reality just wasn't there. Where not only did the tenants rip out the copper and sinks, and everything else with it, but a whole lot worse too. So our system for finding tenants is very specific. It's very detailed. We're going after a very specific type of person, so that again we're trying to mitigate as much of that risk as possible. But it can happen that people move out and punch a hole in the wall or whatever the case is, but you've got the funds to take care of that. It's not necessarily having to come out of your back pocket.
Yeah, because nonetheless, you can have a perfect tenant and the carpet wears,
sure,
right?
Yep.
And the paint needs to be painted and so on. And that's part also of every property that we help you purchase comes with a pro forma, which also includes a percentage that's taken out before net cash flow for repairs, and that's included in repairs.
Oh, good question. He said, does that include repairs right after you buy the property? Typically, these homes are brought to you completely already done and rent ready. We've already gone through the whole process of aligning up with the repair guys, with all the maintenance people. They're actually up to typically a much higher standard than you would actually normally see on the market.
But I'll also add, whenever we buy direct, sometimes you can buy through the company's inventory, but when you buy direct, that is included in the TOP, or the total out of pocket, where besides your down payment, there are rehab costs, and that's all figured into the pro forma before you make an offer on the property.
So if two people from Utah, a credit person and an investor, come together, but they're not familiar with Phoenix and these hot markets, and they go to Strongbrook, what percentage do those two if they stay together as a partner and come to Strongbrook?
Yeah, I'll repeat what I believe you're saying. Okay. He said if you've got two people in Utah that are coming together to form a partnership, what percentage do they get if they're purchasing out in another state? Is that what you're saying? Through Strongbrook. Let me be very clear. Strongbrook does not keep any ownership in any of the homes.
They just take their management fee.
We don't even take that, actually. That's a third-party vendor.
You find the property for them?
We do. So where we get paid, and if I didn't cover this appropriately, we'll make sure I do. Where we get paid as a company is in the transaction fees as you're buying real estate. We own a real estate brokerage, a property management company, except we don't get paid on that. But anyway, we own a real estate brokerage. Did I say that already? A mortgage company, an insurance company, a number of other companies that facilitate that process. So that's where we get paid. We get paid in the transaction. So that's, again, why I'm incentivized to make sure that you have a really great experience on your first home. Why? Because if you do, you're going to want to buy another one, right? Then I'm incentivized to make sure that you have a really good experience on your second home. Why? Because if I do it well enough, you're going to buy another one. You're going to want to. So we set it up in this specific system that we gain only if you gain. We're only going to see an increase in our business if you receive an increase in your business. And so, for us, it's all about making sure that we're providing the very best scenarios, the very best systems, the very best properties so that you're going to want to do it again and again and again. Yeah. Good question. Yeah.
I got a question. How about the upfront cash?
Yeah.
Does the customer gain anything from that, or?
What do you mean? Which customer? Who? Huh?
Or
sorry.
So, for example, when you guys go out and find the property,
yeah,
you buy it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a large amount of cash that you make up front.
Yeah.
From purchasing it.
Yeah.
Because it's way below market.
Sure, I hear what you're saying.
Do we get any piece
Okay.
of that, or just the end?
Yeah. So let me be very clear. And maybe do you want to cover this part, or I can? Huh? Yes. He said. When you as a company go out and buy these homes, let's say we're buying them from MLS or auction or wherever, and we're buying them at a discount if we are, does the client get to take advantage of the spread between that and what you buy it for? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, so about 20% of the homes that we help our clients buy are provided directly by the company. 80% are provided through our direct suppliers, so you go direct to the supplier. So your question deals with when we provide the home properly, or correct? Is that your question? Okay, so when we provide the property, so we go out, we buy it at the auction, we fix it up, we take care of all the title issues, and then we sell it to you. Yes, we mark it up somewhat. We are a for-profit company, and so our goal is to make some money on those properties. We could sell it for significantly more if we sold it on the MLS as opposed to selling it to one of our clients. We have an obligation, responsibility to get our clients a very good deal. And so typically, you're going to get it for less money than had it been on the MLS. So we do make some money, but you're still getting an incredible value.
So in other words, we still are passing along savings to you. We are definitely making money. We're capitalists. We believe in it. But we are passing along some of those savings to you as well. Yes?
What's your typical markup?
There's not a typical markup. So I can tell you what our average, what we make on average, and it's about $3,500 per property when we do it. So it's not a huge amount of money. We could make upwards of $10,000. But that's about our average.
Questions? Yeah.
Question. I'm looking way ahead. So eventually these markets are going to recover, and they're going to be up, be above level. So what is the plan for the company then when the markets are recovering?
Okay, so the question was, at some point the markets are going to recover. What is your plan as the company for when the markets recover? Here's the really fun part about real estate. What we know, first of all, is we know that we have a short window of opportunity. We talked about it, right? We've got about probably 2 to 4 years in these hot markets finding the type of properties that we're finding in these markets. Well, like we're also in other markets. We're in Memphis, Tennessee. We're in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we're constantly researching and looking for other markets. When the market, as we're seeing right now, because of this huge recession that we're experiencing, dries up, or at least that type of real estate dries up, we continue to do what we've always done, which is buy really good real estate. If anyone has a chance, can I just borrow that for a quick second? This is our book. Chris Crone's name is on it right here, The Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth. This talks about our system that we implement when we're not in a depressed market, when we're not in these growth markets that we are experiencing right now. So when you're in any other normal market, we implement our straight path system, which is basically buying a home 15 to 20% below value, which instead of a potential $95,000 or $100,000 gain, you're looking at maybe a $30,000 to $50,000 or $60,000 gain. So it's a little bit of a different scenario. Rather than renting it out, we implement what we call our compassionate financing system, which is a hybrid rent-to-own scenario where we work with the tenants and help them actually gain ownership. And so that's the system that when the market turns normal again and everything's just going the way it's supposed to be going, this is the system actually that we built our company on, and where we did our first, I don't know how many 1,000 deals or hundreds of deals or so, and it works extremely well as well. Great question. Yes?
So are you saying you do some homes with the compassionate financing and some are straight rentals?
Yeah, we do. Right now in the hot markets, they're all rentals. So if you're going outside of the hot markets, compassionate financing works very, very well. But in the hot markets, you want to take advantage of the growth, and you don't want to put yourself in a lease option situation where the tenant can then exercise that lease and you lose out on that equity growth. Okay? Good questions. I said nothing's off limits, and you guys are taking this for... Just kidding. It's good. Any other questions? Okay. We're going to stick around. We're going to hang out here as long as you'd like to. We'll be around to answer questions. We've got a number of different also investors in the room that would be happy to field different questions that you have. We're going to go ahead and pass around these game plan cards. Again, this game plan, like we said before, is just you finding out your options. So we're just going to go ahead and pass those around to everybody. Do we have more than Dan? Are you the only one that has cards? Let's get those passed around. Are there any other questions while we're passing out these cards? Yeah.
Steve, I was going to ask questions about everybody else. The gentleman over here was talking about purchasing an $8,000 PSA.
Okay.
Well, you bet someone currently can't afford a $16,000 one, they go with a 5 rate with $8,000 one. What happens if they later decide to go bump to a higher one?
So the PSAs are separate and distinct. So if you buy a $5,500 PSA and you want to buy an $8,000 one later, you can buy the $8,000 one later. There will be a small discount off of the $8,000, but it won't be the same as the difference between the two. So you're going to pay more, So what we help people to understand is number one, once you get this game plan, you're going to understand very, very well what we can do for you. You're going to understand what it will look like exactly for your scenario specifically. And you'll know whether it works for you or not, right? What I can't tell right now is what I can tell is that everyone's going to have a different game plan. It's going to look different for everybody. What I don't know yet is what it looks like, and that's why we have to get to know each other a little bit better. We're definitely not proposing marriage tonight, right? We got to date a little bit first, okay? Okay. Good question. Yeah. Okay, good question. He said, who is it that we meet with to discuss the game plan? You're actually going to either meet over the phone or in person with one of our game plan specialists. They'll take you through the process. They'll actually go through and start gathering your information and understanding kind of what your financial snapshot is. What do you look like right now? What are your abilities? What can you do? After that first meeting, if this is something, we actually break it down into two different things. And if you see that game plan, I don't have one with me, but if you look at that card, you're going to see a space that says, check here if you want a 6 to 12-month income game plan. That's our indirect partnering program that we were talking about, that referral program. And then we also have the box here that says if you would like a 5 to 10-year retirement game plan, and then one that says if you want both. So if you check one or the other, if you check the 5 to 10-year game plan, you're going to be talking to our company. If you check the 6 to 12-month income game plan, you're going to be talking, first of all, with the person who invited you here to talk about kind of that referral program that we mentioned. And then if you want both, you'll go through kind of both processes. Does that make sense? Is that clear? By the way, if you're someone that just thinks that, gosh, this isn't going to work for me, and I'm really skeptical, and I hate everything that you said tonight, then just don't fill it out, and we're 100% okay with that. But if you are interested in finding out any of your options, or finding out if you have options that you don't even know that you have, then just fill it out. I promise you we don't want to hound you. We just want to give you information and see if it works. And if it does, we'll do something together. And if it doesn't, we won't. And either way is okay. All right? Good question. Any other questions before we break? Yeah. Oh, thank you. For everyone that's online, same scenario. You aren't going to be able to fill out the card, but if you'll go on to the website of the person that invited you here, you can go on and fill out your information, name, email, phone number. If no one invited you and you just came through organically, you can email me directly, steven.miller@strongbrook.com, and I'll get you to the right place. I think that should cover it. Like I said, we'll go ahead and stick around. Please come around and ask us questions. Nothing's off limits. I'm a Gemini. Seven kids almost. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Yeah.
I talked to a guy today who he's a contractor. He's got a lot of heavy equipment. Okay. And he's getting almost as old as me.
Okay.
Wants to scale down.
Wow.
So he sold off. He just sold off $300,000 worth of heavy equipment. Okay. He talked to his CPA.
I'm not sure either, but there's a possibility. If his CPA said he can, then he may know the law according to that. But we do help people 1031 exchange.